some truths hit INFJs slowly, almost imperceptibly, revealed not through words, but through patterns, energy shifts, and the silent contradictions people think no one notices. Over time, the INFJ begins to see humanity with sharper clarity, not cynicism, not bitterness, but understanding. They start recognizing who genuinely cares, who only takes, who communicates with authenticity, and who hides behind masks. These realizations don't come from one moment. They accumulate quietly, shaping how the INFJ moves, trusts, and protects their peace. With each experience, the INFJ learns that not everyone values depth, not everyone speaks truthfully, and not everyone deserves access to their inner world. They begin noticing what people do more than what they say, understanding that character is revealed in consistency, not promises. These harsh truths don't harden the INFJ, they refine their intuition, deepen their discernment, and strengthen their boundaries. They stop giving endless chances. They stop carrying emotional weight for others. They become more selective, more intentional, and far more resilient. If you're ready to explore the hidden truths INFJs slowly uncover, truths that reshape how they love, connect, and navigate relationships, stay with me. And if you're new here, subscribe to Brainy Quiet Mind for deeper insights into INFJ psychology and emotional mastery. Before we begin, drop "I see clearly" in the comments if you're ready for the truths most people never admit out loud. Most people say things they don't truly mean. Actions reveal the truth, not words. This is one of the earliest and most painful truths an INFJ learns, not because someone explains it, but because life shows it repeatedly. At first, the INFJ takes words at face value: promises, reassurances, confessions, declarations of loyalty. They listen deeply, believing intention and language naturally align. But over time, patterns break the illusion. They see how easily people say things to avoid conflict, to appear kind, to gain favor, or simply because the moment demands it. Words become background noise while behavior becomes the only real language. Under this realization, the INFJ's way of listening changes. They no longer absorb the sweetness of promises. They watch to see if someone's choices can sustain the weight of their own claims. As this understanding matures, the INFJ becomes painfully observant of the gap between what people say and what they do. Someone says they care, yet their actions show distance. Someone says they're honest, yet their energy carries contradictions. Someone says they'll change, yet repeats the same pattern with quiet inevitability. The INFJ no longer gets confused by mixed signals. They interpret them with growing precision. They start noticing the microbehaviors, the pauses, the inconsistencies, the unkept commitments. They realize that truth hides in follow-through, and character is revealed not in conversations but in choices. This shift doesn't harden them. It awakens them. It teaches them to trust observation over hope. And once they internalize this truth, their relationships transform. They stop giving unlimited chances to someone whose actions contradict their words. They stop investing energy in people who only speak affection but don't show it. They stop feeling guilty for stepping back when someone's behavior consistently reveals disinterest or disrespect. Instead, they let actions guide their trust, attention, and emotional availability. This evolution brings clarity, peace, and a new kind of strength. The understanding that sincerity is not something people say, it's something people live. And from that point on, the INFJ listens with their eyes, their intuition, and their discernment. Knowing actions never lie, even when words do. Not everyone wants to grow, some prefer comfort over self-awareness. This truth hits the INFJ slowly, often after years of trying to help people evolve, understand themselves, or break destructive patterns. At first, the INFJ believes everyone is capable of deep reflection, that if people were shown their blind spots gently enough, they would choose growth. But over time, reality reveals something else. Many people will protect their comfort even when it harms them. They avoid introspection because it forces them to confront uncomfortable truths. They reject change because it demands effort, vulnerability, and accountability. And when the INFJ finally sees this, something inside them shifts. They stop assuming that desire for growth is universal. As this truth settles in, the INFJ becomes extremely discerning about where they invest their emotional energy. They notice the emotional resistance that surfaces when growth is suggested. The defensiveness, the excuses, the quick dismissals, the quiet refusal to take responsibility. They see how some individuals cling to familiar patterns, not because they can't change, but because change threatens their sense of stability. The INFJ, who once offered guidance freely, now recognizes when their insight is being wasted on someone who isn't ready or willing to hear it. They understand that growth cannot be forced and self-awareness cannot be given, it must be chosen. This realization frees them from the exhausting cycle of trying to fix what someone else is committed to maintaining. And once the INFJ fully accepts that not everyone seeks growth, their interactions transform. They stop pouring themselves into relationships where stagnation is the norm. They stop offering emotional labor to people who repeatedly avoid their own healing. They stop mistaking potential for readiness. Instead, they gravitate toward individuals who take responsibility for their actions, who seek truth even when it hurts, who value evolution over comfort. And in this shift, the INFJ's world becomes lighter and more aligned. They protect their energy, choose their connections wisely, and understand that their depth is best shared with those who are willing to meet them there. Growth becomes not their burden to inspire in others, but their path to walk alongside those who choose it too. Some people only value the INFJ's empathy when it benefits them. This is one of the harshest realizations an INFJ encounters, because empathy is not something they perform, it's something they are. They offer deep understanding, emotional presence, and intuitive support freely, believing it will be met with sincerity and mutual care. But over time, they begin noticing a painful pattern. Certain people only come close when they need comfort, attention, or healing, and disappear the moment the INFJ has needs of their own. These individuals treat the INFJ's empathy like a resource to extract, not a connection to honor. And when the INFJ finally recognizes this imbalance, their worldview shifts. They realize their heart has been treated like a service, not a relationship. As this understanding grows clearer, the INFJ starts observing who shows up consistently and who only shows up conveniently. They notice the one-sided conversations where they give insight but receive none, the emotional crises where they become the default healer, the subtle expectation that they will always understand, even when no one tries to understand them. Some people admire the INFJ's emotional depth only when it soothes them, not when it asks for reciprocity. The INFJ begins to see how these individuals resist accountability, avoid genuine intimacy, or vanish when empathy is needed in return. It becomes undeniable. Their kindness has been used, not valued. Once this truth settles into their bones, the INFJ's behavior transforms. They stop offering emotional labor to those who drain rather than nourish. They stop rescuing people who never intended to stand on their own. They stop allowing guilt or obligation to tether them to one-sided dynamics. Instead, they start protecting their energy with fierce clarity. They give empathy where it is honored, not exploited. They invest in relationships that reciprocate depth, not extract it. And in this shift, the INFJ discovers a new strength, the ability to love without losing themselves. Their empathy remains a gift, but no longer one that others can take for granted. It's reserved for those who show through action that they value the INFJ as a person, not just a source of comfort. Many confuse kindness with weakness and try to push boundaries. With time, the INFJ learns that their gentle nature, the softness in their voice, the patience in their presence, the empathy in their responses, is misread by many as an invitation to take advantage. People assume that because the INFJ listens, they can be talked over. Because they care, they can be used. Because they forgive, they can be repeatedly hurt. Kindness, in the eyes of the ungrateful or emotionally immature, is mistaken for passivity. And slowly, experience reveals a hard truth. Some people push to see how far they can go, testing the INFJ's limits not out of need, but out of entitlement. What they don't realize is that beneath that gentleness lies a boundary made of steel, a boundary the INFJ eventually enforces with quiet, devastating precision. As these boundary tests become more visible, the INFJ starts seeing the pattern with painful clarity. Someone takes advantage of their generosity once, then twice, then tries again, expecting the same unconditional patience. Someone dismisses their feelings, believing the INFJ won't push back. Someone assumes the INFJ will always be available, always understanding, always willing to bend. It's in these moments that the INFJ's awareness sharpens. They begin noticing who respects their kindness and who exploits it. They see how certain individuals interpret empathy as submission or calmness as a lack of strength. And every time someone crosses a line under the assumption that the INFJ won't act, the INFJ quietly takes note, storing the information, not the anger. But when the INFJ reaches their limit, the shift is unmistakable. The same person who was once endlessly kind becomes firm, distant, and non-negotiable. The boundary that others believed did not exist snaps into place with quiet, unshakable force. There is no argument, no emotional outburst, no dramatic confrontation, just a clean withdrawal of access, energy, and tolerance. People who mistook kindness for weakness suddenly realize their error. The INFJ's gentleness was never an invitation to exploit, but a reflection of their integrity. And once that integrity is violated, their boundaries become impenetrable. In this moment, the INFJ learns that kindness is their nature, but strength is their foundation, and anyone who confuses the two will never get close again. Loyalty is rare. Most people are loyal to their needs, not to others. Over time, the INFJ learns this truth not through one betrayal, but through a series of subtle disappointments. They enter relationships with sincerity, believing loyalty is a natural expression of connection. They stand by people in their darkest moments, defend them when no one else will, and give support without keeping score. But slowly, experience reveals that not everyone operates with the same depth. Many people stay close only as long as their needs are being met: validation, attention, comfort, or convenience. When those needs shift, so does their loyalty. The INFJ realizes that loyalty for most is conditional, tied not to commitment, but to benefit. This recognition reshapes their understanding of who truly deserves a place in their inner circle. As this truth settles, the INFJ begins watching how people behave when situations change. They notice who disappears when the INFJ is struggling, who becomes distant when the INFJ sets boundaries, who remains supportive only when it's easy. They witness the quiet betrayals, the shift in tone, the absence during hard times, the sudden alignment with someone else when it serves their interests. Loyalty, they learn, is not something people proclaim with words. It's revealed through consistency, especially when nothing can be gained from staying. This realization stings, because INFJs are loyal by nature. They do not abandon easily. They do not jump ship when things become uncomfortable. They do not treat relationships as disposable. Seeing that others don't operate the same way forces them to reassess the emotional contracts they've silently upheld. And once they understand this, the INFJ's approach to connection matures. They become more selective, not cynical, choosing to invest in people who demonstrate loyalty through action, not sentiment. They stop pouring devotion into relationships held together only by convenience. They stop expecting reciprocal loyalty from those who have shown they prioritize themselves above all else. Instead, the INFJ surrounds themselves with the rare few who remain steady in storms, honest in conflict, and present in difficulty. This shift doesn't make the INFJ colder, it makes them wiser. It teaches them that loyalty is sacred and should only be shared with those who know how to honor it, not exploit it. Emotional honesty makes people uncomfortable, so they avoid it. This is a truth the INFJ discovers slowly, often after being met with defensiveness or discomfort when they speak from the heart. To the INFJ, honesty about feelings is a path to understanding, connection, and healing. They believe that naming emotions creates clarity, not conflict. But over time, they notice how people flinch when truth touches their vulnerabilities. Many prefer half answers, distractions, or polite facades because genuine emotional transparency strips away their defenses. It exposes fears, insecurities, contradictions, things they'd rather keep buried. And when the ENFJ sees how often people retreat from sincerity, they learn that emotional honesty is not universally welcomed. It's often feared. As this awareness deepens, the INFJ starts observing how people respond when conversations drift toward depth. Someone changes the subject the moment feelings surface. Someone laughs off uncomfortable truths. Someone becomes defensive when their behavior is questioned gently. Someone avoids accountability by pretending not to understand. The INFJ realizes it's not malice, it's avoidance. People fear what emotional honesty demands: introspection, responsibility, vulnerability. The INFJ, who is wired for depth, sees how others cling to emotional shortcuts because the raw truth threatens their self-image. This creates a quiet distance. The INFJ becomes selective about when and with whom they share their inner world. And once this truth settles, the INFJ's approach shifts. They stop offering emotional honesty to those who can't hold it. They stop opening their heart to people who respond with discomfort instead of curiosity. They stop expecting depth from individuals' content with surface level interactions. Instead, they protect their inner truth and reserve it for the rare few who value authenticity over ease. They choose connections where honesty is met with presence, not avoidance, with accountability, not defensiveness. This shift doesn't make the INFJ less open, it makes them wiser. They learn that emotional honesty is a gift, and only those unafraid of truth deserve to receive it. Some relationships survive only because the INFJ is the one holding them together. With time, the INFJ begins to notice a pattern. Some connections stay intact, not because both people nurture them, but because the INFJ is quietly doing all the emotional labor. They initiate the conversations, mend misunderstandings, soothe tensions, and check in when the other person withdraws. They keep the thread from snapping through effort, patience, and empathy, often without the other person realizing how much work is being done on their behalf. The INFJ sees the signs. If they stop reaching out, things fall silent. If they stop giving, the relationship starves. This truth is harsh, but it reveals the imbalance they've been ignoring. It forces them to confront the reality that not all bonds are mutual, and not all close relationships are truly shared. As this understanding deepens, the INFJ starts noticing how different things feel when they pause their effort. The friend who always means to call never does. The person who benefits from the INFJ's support never reciprocates when roles reverse. The partner who relies on the INFJ's emotional intelligence becomes distant when asked to show their own. Silence stretches longer than it should. Apologies and accountability never surface on their own. The INFJ realizes they have been the emotional glue, the stabilizer, the mediator, the caretaker. Without their quiet work, the connection collapses. This recognition isn't just painful, it's illuminating. It shows them who truly values the relationship and who simply enjoys the results of the INFJ's effort. And eventually, the INFJ reaches a turning point. They stop holding everything together out of habit or hope. They release the responsibility that was never theirs alone. They test the relationship by stepping back, not out of spite, but out of truth-seeking. And what happens next reveals everything. The relationships built on mutual care survive. The ones dependent on the INFJ dissolve. This shift empowers them. They begin investing only where effort flows both ways, where connection is a shared commitment. They stop propping up dynamics that drain them. They choose bonds that stand even when they stop carrying all the weight. And in that choice, the INFJ recovers something essential: their energy, their clarity, and their emotional freedom. Apologies don't equal change. Patterns speak louder than promises. This truth settles into the INFJ's heart only after they've heard too many beautifully worded apologies, followed by the exact same behavior. At first, INFJs want to believe every "I'm sorry," every "I'll do better," every emotional confession that sounds sincere in the moment. They take people at their word because, for the INFJ, apologies mean something. They represent accountability, growth, and a genuine desire to repair harm. But over time, reality teaches them a harder lesson. Many people apologize to ease tension, not to transform. Their words are soothing, but their habits stay unchanged. Slowly, the INFJ learns to stop listening to remorse and start studying repetition. Because what someone does after "I'm sorry" reveals their truth far more than the apology ever could. As this awareness deepens, the INFJ begins noticing the subtle disconnects. Someone apologizes for being insensitive, then becomes insensitive again the next week. Someone apologizes for disappearing emotionally, then retreats the moment vulnerability is needed. Someone apologizes for crossing a boundary, then tests the exact same line as if the INFJ's forgiveness resets the consequences. Patterns, the INFJ realizes, are the fingerprints of character. They reveal priorities, values, emotional maturity, and respect. Words, however sincere they sound, can be shaped to fit any moment. Patterns cannot, And once this clarity crystallizes, the INFJ no longer feels compelled to accept apologies as proof of growth. They start evaluating behavior with a calm, discerning eye. And this shift transforms their boundaries. They stop offering endless chances to people who only become temporarily sorry. They stop letting warmth cloud judgment. They stop investing emotional energy in situations where repentance is performative, not transformative. Instead, they let patterns guide their decisions. If someone's behavior remains harmful, distance is the answer. Not another discussion, another explanation, or another hope that things will change. The INFJ moves forward with steady self-respect, understanding that true apology is not spoken, it is lived. It shows up in consistent effort, responsibility, and changed behavior. And once they understand braces this truth, they no longer fall for words. They choose the reality that patterns reveal and build a life where sincerity is measured through action, not promises. Protecting your peace means losing people who were never truly with you. This is one of the most transformative truths an INFJ learns. Not all departures are losses. For years, the INFJ may cling to relationships out of loyalty, empathy, or hope, believing that with patience and understanding, things will balance themselves. But the moment they begin protecting their inner world, setting boundaries, saying no, choosing solitude, prioritizing emotional clarity, a quiet revelation unfolds. Some people pull away immediately. Some become distant. Some react with irritation, guilt tactics, or silence. And that's when the INFJ finally understands. Protecting your peace doesn't push the right people out. It exposes the wrong ones. Those who vanish were never aligned with you. They were aligned with what you provided. As this truth settles deeper, the INFJ starts seeing patterns they once overlooked. The friend who enjoyed their support but resented their boundaries. The partner who loved their gentleness but recoiled when asked for accountability. The family member who expected emotional labor but offered none. When the INFJ stops overgiving, these relationships unravel, not because peace is harsh, but because peace requires authenticity. Protecting their inner calm removes the space for manipulation, imbalance, and emotional dependency. And the people who benefited from the old dynamic suddenly feel uncomfortable. Their departure is not a punishment, it's a revelation of who they were all along. And when those people fall away, something powerful happens within the INFJ. The space they leave behind is filled with clarity, strength, and a deeper sense of self. The INFJ begins to recognize relationships built on mutual respect rather than convenience. They attract people who value presence, honesty, and emotional reciprocity. They build a life guided not by fear of losing others, but by commitment to honoring themselves. Protecting their peace becomes an act of self-love and inner loyalty. And the INFJ finally understands that anyone who disappears during that process was never truly with them, only with the version of them that made life easier. In choosing peace, they choose truth. And truth always reveals who belongs. The harsh truths INFJs learn over time don't make them colder. They make them clearer. They begin to see people not through hope, but through patterns. Not through words, but through actions. And with every truth uncovered, they grow sharper, wiser, and more aligned with the life they were meant to live. Protecting their peace becomes non-negotiable. Upholding their boundaries becomes natural. And choosing themselves stops feeling selfish and starts feeling necessary. These lessons may arrive slowly, but once learned, they redefine everything. If you want deeper insights into INFJ psychology, emotional mastery, and the hidden patterns of human behavior, make sure you subscribe to Brainy Quiet Mind so you never miss what comes next. Before you go, drop "I see the truth now" in the comments. Let me know you're one of the INFJs who grows stronger with every lesson.